Hey guys, this is Caleb with DSLR Video Shooter, and today we're checking out a ginormous LED mat. Welcome back to yet another LED light review. This one is very interesting for several reasons. Number one, the size. This is the 24 TDX light mat from Falcon Eyes. The 24 stands for 24 inches across, at least the LED portion, so we're looking at a roughly 2x2 LED mat. The second really exciting thing is the power. This packs 150 watts of power or output roughly, and that's very, very bright. And secondly, it's a bi-color light, so I can actually, with the control unit here, find the on-off switch, and I'll drop the output real low. But we can switch it over to 3200, right? And then all the way up to 5600 Kelvin. So we've got that nice bi-color action giving you lots of flexibility. For the most part, I'm not noticing any dips in output. So throughout the range, there is a little bit of a spike kind of in the middle, but on either end, it's really bright. So you're not gonna have to worry about losing a lot of output with this unit. The cost on this is $550, which I think is a great bargain considering the output. We're going to do several lighting setups so you can see what it'll look like. So let's take a look at the actual light itself. Here I have the LED actually exposed. So you can see it's very similar to the other Falcon Eyes LED mats that you've seen on my channel here in the past. It's just a giant version of them, with the exception to this one being a bi-color option. And then for accessories, we have a couple things we can add here, and it comes with the light, which is really cool. So we've got the mat itself on the X bracket, and then we have this big soft box that's, I would say, 5.5 inches deep, which is good enough. That'll help us with some diffusion. We've got a layer of diffusion that velcros all the way in, and then like you saw earlier, the big ol' honkin' grid that you can then additionally add. You throw the grid on there and you still get that soft light quality, but it's very directional. And an example of how I used this recently was my 4K monitor review that I did probably a week or two ago. All the footage of the actual monitor at my desk was lit using this light with the grid. And that's what's so awesome. And you can see in the footage there that the light isn't spilling across the entire room and the back wall. It's really directional soft light, and I really, really love that look. So this would be a great way to get a high-powered light that has that. Now let's talk about the control unit a little bit. We have two knobs. One is for your dimmer and your brightness, 0 to 100%, and the light actually does go down to 1%, and it's very, very dim, which I like to see. And then we have our color temperature. So we can go all the way down to 3000 Kelvin, and you can see that's very much warm back there. And then I'll crank it all the way back up to 56, and we're good to go. You can also change the channel of this unit so that you can control it with different remotes and link different lights to the remote. We'll talk about the remote in a second. And then instead of just knobs, you also have touch buttons if you want to use that instead. On the top of this unit, we have the on-off switch. And for some reason, you can also press the dimmer button to turn it on and off. At the very top, we have the antenna for working with the remote, and then an input for power. So for power, we have a couple different options. You can use a giant brick, which comes with this really slick little attachment, so you can keep the whole thing together. I'll move this out of the way so you can kind of see what's going on here. And it also, on the back, has a V-mount, so you can use batteries and power this remotely. And then, of course, a cable that goes to the wall for power if you take that route. And then there's a cable that runs to this light. This light is supposedly waterproof. I haven't tested that, but if you're in really wet environments, this is good news for us. And then finally, there's a little hook, so you can just hang this on a light stand and keep it nice and tidy without that thing causing issues. Moving on to the remote. This is a really nice light remote, actually. It has a power button. I'll turn it on. Nice illuminated screen, and it's pretty hefty because there's a built-in battery and you can charge it via USB. For controls, we can control our channel. We can control, just like the controller unit, the brightness and the color temperature. So let's go ahead and rock some light setups. I might try to just turn this key light off and use this completely for my key, add some additional diffusion, and then maybe we'll do some fun stuff and do a high key and mess around with some of that stuff. So let's get to it. Okay, so right now the only thing that's lighting me is my aperture 120D going through a light dome. I'm at around 85 for my output, but that's pushing through 2 layers of diffusion. So let us go ahead and fire up our light over here, turn off the aperture, slowly ramping it up. I can't just turn it on, I have to run it all the way up on the remote. And there is 100% on the light at 5600 Kelvin. I'm now going to change the white balance to see what we got going on. I'm noticing it's getting a little brighter. And right there at 5550 seems to be the brightest on this light. So not quite daylight, but pretty close. That's pretty darn bright. It's pretty hard to look at. So this is about exactly the same distance as my 120D, diffusion to diffusion. So now what I want to do is push this light further back and bring another layer of diffusion in. So we'll shoot it through 2 layers and see what's up. Okay, so I have pushed the light back and put a 4x4 sheet of diffusion in front of it, and this has given us some really nice soft light. Obviously I need some kind of a fill on this side of me, but for this wide of a shot, which we got to keep in mind, I haven't zoomed in for this, this isn't bad at all. Do note I did take the grid off because I want as much light output going through both these layers of diffusion, and when you have grid in place, you're actually losing some light because it's cutting down and there's something in between the light and your subject. So 2 layers of diffusion, the one that came with the light and an added one. There's probably a foot and a half of distance between the 2 layers. And this looks great. Really nice soft light. So not bad at all. And for a $550 light, that is easy to pack up, very lightweight, and yeah, that's pretty great. All right, so I've got the high key set up. Sorry if the audio sounds weird. I'm not really set up for a high key normally. Yeah, so I have the light a couple feet above me here, and I would need a fill, obviously, to deal with this next stuff, but we're at 15% brightness. I could probably bump it up maybe a hair, but the exposure looks pretty good on my monitor. So overkill, obviously, for this, but I love how big it is. You can see I'm getting this nice big eye light, hopefully, that you can see. And the beauty with this is you could raise this thing up, punch it up with the output, throw a 6x6 in front of it, and get just a giant, soft, beautiful high key, maybe a table with some stuff on it. You could do a lot of cool stuff with this light. The other cool thing we could do is let's go ahead and this is why a bicolor light is really handy. This little light behind me that's given us our background light as I smack it accidentally is daylight. So I'm going to switch to tungsten. Just going to use the remote, drop it all the way down to, let's go crazy and go to 3000. Now on my app that controls my camera, I'm going to switch over to tungsten lighting. Pretty good, right? Not bad. And maybe I'll punch up the brightness a little bit to compensate. Right about there. And now we've got a really cool blue background because our daylight is now looking blue, and we're white balanced for tungsten. So really versatile stuff with this bicolor, super bright, big, soft matte. The downsides to this is going to be the size once it's set up. It does take a little bit of time to get everything put together, so it's not like lickety split, bam, you've got a light. And they don't really fold or shrink or hold their form like Flex lights do from Wescott. It's just a big roll, so you have to, be ready for a roll like this once you pack it up. And you're also not going to get any punchy light like you would on a Fresnel or something. But if you need a big soft source that's lightweight, I'm hanging this on a really cheap boom stand with no sandbag and just the controller keeping the stand straight. And that's gonna pretty much do it for this video, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. If you don't want to spend $550 or don't need something this big, check out my Flex Light Alternatives video. There I talk about 2 smaller sizes, and also keep in mind they're selling a 24 TDX that instead of a 2x2 is like a 1x3 or 1x4, so a long kind of strip style light. So you can check that out on Amazon too. All that stuff's linked to in the description. That'll do it for this video. You can watch fresh ones here at DSLR Video Shooter every single Tuesday and Thursday. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.